Okay. Okay, guys, we are actually on air. We're actually on air. Everybody who just joined us, keep joining us. We will have I'm pretty sure extremely interesting conversation. Look at the lineup today. Yeah, should be absolutely great. So usually I present everyone just as Google told me to do on my screen from left to right. But today I'll make an exception. We have a. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We have Dagmar Gatell, SEO strategist and consultant from sunny Florida. She is a star speaker today, and we'll give her everything. We'll give her a microphone very soon. But I'm gonna present the rest of the guests. Okay, we have guests from England. Actually, most of the guests from England today. Not most, yeah, but that's quite. We have Amon Jones. Very easy. It makes my life very easy. It says Amon Jones. Everybody knows it's Amon Jones. Amon Jones from England. Okay, we have another guest from London, England. David Sois. David Sois, London, England. I don't know what's going on with Dawn camera, but Dawn, we cannot see you. We have a guest from beautiful city of Odessa in Ukraine, Igor Go, who represents Serpstat. Serpstat is a development company which developed brilliant tools. It's kind of Ukrainian tiger. Michael Striker, okay, Michael Striker, don't go. Michael, well, I have to still say it, Michael, ex-SEMrush US Marketing Director. Now he's Michael Striker. Nice to have you with us, Michael. We have Sky Cassidy. Sky Cassidy from United States, from Los Angeles, and Sky is a special expert. Well, you don't like what expert specialist on email marketing. Yeah, I won't go into particular details. Okay, guys. Everybody who just joined us, we will have an interesting conversation. Hopefully, well, let's do some pre-presentation chat. I don't know. Okay, Aman, what you been up to recently?
Oh, work. I'm redoing a large site using basic NLP. I'm testing conversion rates, and so I'm having a lot of fun rewriting everything to really kind of push some of the psychological buttons and see what the differences are, and particularly how Google may deal with things that are not your typical way of writing. So that's what I've been up to.
Okay, great. So, well, anybody else? Yeah, okay, don't. Yeah, hopefully we can see. David, what you been up to?
For me, it's been some client proposals and looking after my daughter. She had her 3-month jabs today, so been looking after her.
Okay, nice. Okay, Dawn, very nice to see you here with us.
Can you see the camera now?
Yeah, camera is great. Everything is fine. Congratulations on your being star on Google Q&A show.
I didn't even realise because I was at SASCON, a conference in Manchester last week, and I was out bowling with the on the social part of the event, and I came back to like 25 Twitter messages. So
yeah, so instead of being with us watching Google Q&A, and you've been bowling.
I watched it when I got home. I watched it all. So no, it was really good chat that you all had there. So that was really useful. Yeah, and yeah, I was really pleased that my presentation got a shout out. That was yeah, I kept replaying that, looking at that bit. Yeah, no, it was good to hear. Yeah, so thanks to everybody for the good feedback, and John, of course.
Igor, what you been up to?
I have a big project to work on. It's the educational stuff for our users. So I'm trying to learn everything to teach others to do that. So that's where I spend the most of my time. It's the academies that we're building right now. Nothing interesting really, just regular keyboard research stuff and techniques.
Okay, Michael. Yeah, tell me. You're not SEM Rush. What's you've been doing all this time since
So
you.
thanks for asking. I've been doing some consulting, and I just want to say to anybody who knows the basic tenets of SEO that what you've learned about keywords and audiences and different types of phrases that people use carries very well over into search engine marketing. So I'm happy to say I was able to set up some campaigns in AdWords, LinkedIn, just work right out of the gate, and that's something new for me. So that's what I've been up to.
Yeah, interesting. Sky, you told me that you went through the rebranding, completely rebranding, new name. It's the same company.
Yeah, same company, same people. Everything's the same. We've added some new products, but we felt we've been in the business for almost 15 years now, and we felt it was time to rebrand. There's a lot of different reasons to rebrand, but it was time for us, and we're really excited with our new brand and our new products, new direction.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, nobody wants to say anything. I'll just move it all to our speaker. Yeah. Okay. Dagmar, it's all yours.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So thank you so much for joining me. As I saw all the experts coming in, so it makes me very excited, because for me, SEO is an awesome opportunity to help entrepreneurs and businesses to really shine out there. And I love what Aman said about NLP, because I'm an NLP practitioner, and I approach SEO from the empathy perspective, because it's really bringing life into what your expertise is and bringing this online, making it shine, making it visible for everybody so that they can feel attracted to you and you can convert them easily. So the topic today, Anton and I, we talked about it. It's really, for me, it's all about that SEO and social media cannot live without the other. So it's really a love story, because you need to have the search part, you need to have the traffic, but you also need, from the social media part, the audience. And my first thought was about that it's really all about conversions. Like, how I help my clients is converting their audience, their traffic into their list, into buying their products or buying their services. And it amazes me from the old days where people came to your website a few years ago and you could easily convert them through content into your list. Now it's all about letting them experience something. So what I see a lot for my clients or for myself when I look into Google Analytics is they come to the social media portals, they explore you there, then they come to your website and they see your blog post, but it doesn't mean they stay there. It could be they going out in another social media portal and see if they can trust you, if you have credibility, and then they come back and sign up for your list. I think why SEO and social media is so important now, because it's so mobile. Like, social media is totally mobile. Everybody I know does social media mobile, and when I look into the data, it's like 50% of the website is mobile traffic coming from social networks. In what I'm sharing from my experience, from my own websites and from my own online approach and from working with my clients, is really what I do on a day-to-day basis. Like the steps I implement to make sure that I get the right traffic coming to the website, and that they see the relevance in what I put out there in social media. Again, on the website, they get reassured that they can build trust and build credibility, and then build a relationship and convert deeper. What's your experience with that? I saw Dawn is joining us, and Dawn, what's your experience with that? I'm very curious about how you see that, the love of social media and SEO.
I'm not sure if Dawn's ready to jump in, but I certainly will.
Okay.
There are certainly examples. You can have web success without any social media presence.
Right.
Very few of us have got Amazon in our Twitter feeds or feel friends with Amazon, but you certainly can't say that Amazon's doing badly in search or that it's not doing good business. Then again, there are companies who do leverage it very well. Google have made a very good transition. Although Google as a company, I don't think are particularly great with social media. They've got lots and lots of representatives, people that we know, people like John and Andre and Matt Cutts and Gary Elias and tons of others who are very active, and you get to know the people, and therefore you trust the people who build the product. And I think that goes right back to that fabulous book, The Clue Train Manifesto, that often what we've got is a company in the middle. You've got employees within the company, and you've got customers without, and they're both real human beings. And the idea today is to try and get the company out of the way and let the people connect with the people.
Yeah. And do you see that in social media too? Now you see more and more companies, when they tweet out, they put their employee's name next to their tweet. Because if not, the Twitter handle is so anonymous.
Yes, although I do see people making the mistake of tying it up with personal branding, which is a slightly different thing. And you don't add the name just for the sake of adding the name. It's all about adding that personal connection.
Right, and consistency too. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, somebody else has thoughts about the law for social media and SEO? Before I start with the 7 practical steps?
I can jump in for a second if you'd like.
Sure.
I think I might have a unique perspective. I'd mentioned before we jumped on this to everybody that my company just finished rebranding. And one of the big reasons that we rebranded was because of a lack of web presence with our old brand. We had been around when it wasn't really necessary, and the old management here had continued forward on that same path because we were successful at the time, but over time it slowly eroded our business, and it took a long time for that to be recognized by that management. So I think it's a critical thing, and people might not realize it, and they might wonder why they're maybe it's so difficult for them in business, why things aren't taking off without this. And I don't understand SEO myself. I have other people take care of that, but I do understand that without it, in many businesses you're really in trouble. Like, it's a long-term thing, but you have to have it. It's how you develop a brand nowadays, and unless you have a product on the shelf at the grocery store, you have to have SEO. That's where most people are finding companies. That people go research what they want, and then they come to you to buy now. So if you don't have SEO, you're making it really difficult for yourself.
Yeah. What I personally see, what I explore every day, is the internet. At the end, they have 2 different types of people: the people who are searching for something, and the people behind the websites who are providing the solution and the answers. So it's really, the SEO for me combines and connects both. And then with the social media aspect, is you bring the audience in and make it available for people who are not looking for you, but who are interested in what you have to offer.
If I may add to what Sky was saying about the rebranding, we had just about the same process recently. We were working on 2 markets in local Russian market, let's call it that way, and we just started working with the Western market, so trying to get close to SEM Rush. And what we had to do, we had to change the name that we used on the Russian market, and the only way for us to inform our users efficiently of that change was through social media. So the branded queries, like the old name that was Prodvigator, they had to be changed to the new branded query, the SERP for the, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 countries in general: Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Bulgaria, Kazakhstan, and countries near them. So the only thing that we could have used for that transition was social media. So of course there are like emails and everything, but for users to stay subscribed to an email list or even to read something from a tool in this day and age is not that easy. But when they see on social media that something gets hyped, like the product, we actually announced it as if we are saying goodbye. So the Prodvigator is saying goodbye. So that caused a little bit of hype, and people knew that we are now using a new name. So that was the way we went with it. And I don't see how we could have done it without the social media.
Can I chip in with my
Sure.
on
Absolutely.
social media? So I think that we do need to. I know that Google has sort of reiterated this a number of times, and we do get a lot of people that say, "Oh, social media is a ranking factor," you know, social signals are a ranking factor. I think we do need to clear up that actually social signals, in a literal sense, yeah, a ranking factor, yeah. But also, for me, without lots of good social signals, you probably could never get in touch with those authorities that actually then give you the thumbs up via links, via shares, via amplification and via reach, etc. That do in turn then give you the higher rankings. Do you see what I mean? So as you say, there is a connection there. It's not that Google will crawl the tweets and then all of a sudden every share will contribute to your rankings. It's that you actually get an opportunity to connect with the authorities, and you could never do that before the days of social media. You know, how is anybody going to get in touch with, you know, some massive authority via traditional channels?
Money, money, money.
Well, just making. I mean, you can kind of just shout across Twitter now, and as long as you're not rude and you start to build a bit of a rapport with somebody, you're able to have a conversation, an intelligent conversation with people that you would never possibly be able to connect with if it were not for the platforms that are available to us now via social media. Yeah, and then in turn, obviously, you're able to be picked up as a brand or as a small brand, and suddenly you start to get votes and links. You know, if we say that links are votes, yeah, that then in turn boost our rankings, because links are still a massive factor in SEO. We know this as a fact. That's for me how social media amplifies. Now, obviously, social media also works for many, many other things as well. As you say, it's the credibility when somebody's doing the research. It's checking the reviews. It's all those moments in a customer's journey with a brand. So that's my view on it. I mean, I'm a huge fan of social media, and you know, there's certainly no going back from it. But for me, I think it's just really important that we always stress that at this moment in time, and just a simple share or a simple tweet is not going to be the same as a link. But that simple share or tweet that then suddenly manages to reach out to, you know, to 1,000 people may then in turn into a link, because you've been able to reach that much further with the pebble in the pond. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And Don, I don't know if you remember me, we met in a Twitter chat and you shared a link with me, and I will not forget this. It was a link to the YouTube creator, I think, and it was about the help and the help and the hub and the hero.
Help, hero. Well, yeah, it's a content marketing framework. Yeah, help, hero. Yeah.
Right, and you really opened my mind, because coming back to social media and SEO, right, totally makes sense for SEO, right, to create this content. But then the social media mind needs to understand how you promote it, because you need to promote it and integrate it in your social media strategy in a totally different way. And I so appreciate that you said at the beginning, absolutely, social media signals are not ranking factors, but the traffic.
They certainly help as an intermediate step towards a ranking. That's what I would say anyway.
Yeah, because
without them, you're going to struggle, because without them, how are you going to gain a large amount of natural links? Yeah.
Yeah. Natural links and the traffic coming to your site, right? because organic search is only so much. You still need referral search, you need the social media search, you need the direct search coming to you.
Yeah, but that for me that's a separate thing to SEO. They all work together now. For me, everything works together.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as, well, we only do SEO, we only do social media, we only do PPC. You know, people don't live their lives in a bubble anymore. You know, and everything touches everything. Programmatic's all around us, and you know, people are being followed all around the internet, all around everywhere. So nothing's in a silo, is it, as such? So, but that's just my view, anyway. So I think we're all on the same. We're all of the same opinion that social media is very, very important.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, I'll chip out now.
Thank you, Don.
I think one of the things that's really interested me is how social media also amplifies traditional media. If you look today, a really good TV ad campaign that's creative, that's clever, that's got somebody that we rarely see on TV, gets 1,000 tweets, and it's copied over to YouTube, and it gets into Facebook, and you know, the social media again is amplifying and giving free exposure to that ad outside of its TV coverage. And I think that's one of the reasons why it is so important and is used as a discovery signal. It does help determine what's trending, what we're liking, what we're enjoying. So while it doesn't directly affect SEO, yeah, it certainly does play into it, and its effects do. I just said in the sidebar chat that it's a lot like pay-per-click. Pay-per-click, does pay-per-click spending influence SEO? No, not directly. But the links, the coverage, the social effects that you can get from a good PPC campaign will absolutely then become things that can be picked up in SEO and further enhance that success.
Yeah.
Same with display advertising. Sorry, Michael, just same with display advertising. They speak about, you know, display is like notoriously bad for. You see people write blog posts about, oh God, the return on investment on display is terrible. But it's not just that. It's the halo, the brand halo effect. You know, people don't necessarily click on it, but it's the fact that subliminally, where every time they go to somewhere, it's there. It's you know, it's in the corner of their mind. It's like the chipping away at somebody. And when people switch off display, when they've used it predominantly, they find that lots of other results across the different channels drop because they've lost the halo.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and just if I can just jump in, I've done quite a bit of reputation management, where it had the great concern was how a brand looked in Google, but the primary takeaway in relation to all this is that your brand doesn't exist in your logo. It doesn't exist on your website. It's not something that you own. It's owned by everybody who encounters the brand. It's in their hearts and their minds. And so you have to think about trust a great deal. Yes, Google does get trust, and things that appear in search results are trusted enough that people are still accustomed to, you know, clicking through. But there's another form of trust, and people trust each other, trust peers, family, friends, much more than the brand itself, and that's why you need social. The amplification that Dawn's been talking about, and anybody who's gone through rebranding has, you know, encountered this too. So yeah, you need to exist in the minds and hearts of your potential audience and your users, and social is, you know, just where people are going to look for how people regard your brand.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is Google really doesn't, I think really Google cares less what we say on our website and hears much more what other people say about us in social media, or the backlinks we get through as recommendations to our website. So that's, I see that as a trend, less and less, because they don't want that people fake anymore or try to fake website value or website quality or website authority. So they look outside and to see who else recommends us, like in real life, the same when you ask your friends about recommendations.
There's been some talk, of course, about sentiment analysis, but it's still very early. It's still not very effective yet. It's getting there. Give it another 5 years, and sentiment analysis will be right up there, and that's when what others say about you is more important than what's on your page. But still, right now, your content is the most important thing about your page. Next is its external links. Yeah, your internal links are a lot less important, because Google is more and more able to map out the connections and spot where, you know, two companies are related, or two sites are related, or, oh look, you've written 6 guest posts for them and they've written 6 for you. Oh, that's not at all suspicious. You know, so they can see when there's some kind of relationship going on very quickly. And yes, those links do get devalued a bit, especially by repetition.
Yeah, and I love what you just said, because when we now go to the 7 practical steps I explore, right, how social media can help your SEO, the first thing is what you just said. Is the content relevant or important on our side? Absolutely, but believe it or not, many of the people or many of the clients I work with, they forget this. So they are all day in social media, or they send out newsletters, but they don't take care of creating relevant, valuable content on their site at all. So for me, social media, great social media starts with that you have a great real estate, where you really have your voice, where you have your content, where you have your value, and then go in social media and share that.
I think the most important word to remember with social media is streams. You know, we talk about the social media stream, but that's exactly how to think of it. It's a very fast-moving stream. Thousands of things go past every minute.
Yep.
So don't put anything you want to last. If you want to have a meaningful message, it's not going to last on social media. That's how to get it out there in people's attention right now. But it should be linking to something that's lasting, so that evergreen content or that deep, meaningful article that people will remember in 6 months.
Have you heard of the concept of stock and flow? Yeah.
No, but I'm excited to hear more, Dawn.
So you know, I'm studying, and part of my studies was the last piece of past assignment we had to do was around the concept of stock and flow. So I can't remember who made the term up, but ultimately, it's fairly well known now in content marketing. The stock is the evergreen stuff, the blog, you know, not the blog posts so much, but the guides, the things that are going to be around forever, that'll be as good in 2 years as they are now, if you like, yeah. And the flow is everything that drives the traffic or that drives the eyeballs to the stock. So it's the blog posts actually that support the guides, etc. It's the tweets, it's the email marketing, it's that kind of thing. It's everything almost, yeah. So it's just with Ammons to talk about the flow and you talk about the flow. Look that up. I'll find a link actually about the stock and flow concept. Yeah, cool. So everything can be split into 2 ultimately. Yeah. Anyway, just thought I'd share that.
Oh, I love that you said that, because as another practical step, I meet people when I talk with people, right? So they manual post or they automate everything. And what you just said with the evergreens, like the evergreens, they are so valuable. That's what I would automate for social media, and that's what I would bring back to the website, because that makes sense to me. So that's really...
Yeah, but also, you know, we always assume that an evergreen piece of content has to take like a year to develop. It has to be like a mammoth, massive piece. But if you think about it, some things will always be evergreen. You know, somebody's commenting about Quora. Some questions they'll always need to be asked. So that, in a way, the answer to a question like how to boil an egg, I think, was used in Jen Sleg's Panda piece, or that question's always going to be asked, and that is in effect the answer to a question is evergreen. Yeah. They're always going to struggle with how long it takes to boil an egg. Yeah. So that's not, you know, you look on Jen's Panda piece, the actual answer, the ranking #1 answer to how to boil an egg is like 100 words. Yeah. But it literally answers the question in its entirety. So, you know, for me, that's evergreen content is not, it doesn't have to be massive. It just has to literally meet a need. You know, the need is how to boil an egg. There you go. Yeah.
It's very interesting as well that actual social media and the streams, the temporal stuff, kind of tells us what is evergreen, because it is the stuff that, it's not about the fact that you posted something 6 years ago and it got a lot of links then. It's about the fact that it keeps coming back in the stream, that references to it keep coming back, that it's kind of like a tide underneath that rushing torrent. And that's one of the ways we're going to see that evergreen content, real evergreen content, is recognized.
Yep. I explore that too. And the other thing, what I wrote down as a practical step, what I see a lot, and I don't know if you see the same, it's very interesting when in the social media portals, when people add keywords into their names, like in the Facebook business page name, or in the Twitter account name, or in the Google Plus name, or in the LinkedIn name, it seems like, and that's what I see as a result, it seems like it makes it easier searchable, because I personally get a lot of leads from Facebook just because I have my my keyword in it, and I suggest that to my clients, and they get a lot of leads through that. Is that something you experience too?
Is that to all of us generally?
Yes, to all of us. Whoever wants to join, I'm totally open to that. I want that this is a community wisdom more than anything else.
I didn't really run into successful examples of using a keyword as a part of the name for anything, but I do want to say that we didn't discuss that the social media pages can rank themselves for certain keywords. And that in itself, while not improving the SEO, it just gets you to the point of SEO. You get traffic from organic search to your Facebook page, for example. You still got the person to your page. Well, it's not your website, but you can close the deal there. And the other good example is Amazon. Well, not social media website per se, but it's a social domain to a certain extent. And for example, if there's a new type of goods appears on the internet, the best way for a new or small website or a new merchant to sell that stuff is to go on Amazon and put it up there, because Amazon will rank for the name of that product way faster than any small domain. So if you sell that thing on Amazon and people search for it, they will find your Amazon store. But if you just stick to selling it on your website, they will not get there. They will maybe initially, but just as soon as bigger websites start selling it, or someone else starts using Amazon to sell it, they will push you down. So I think that social media is in itself a nice place to promote as a separate website to get traffic from organic search.
Muted.
Sorry.
Muted.
No, I'm not being very good today technically. I'm sorry about this. I'm having a bit of a untechnical brain today. I think that it's sometimes there's things that are referred to as barnacle marketing, aren't they? So you're effectively jumping on the back of other platforms. For instance, as you just mentioned, listing something on Amazon, listing yourself on a local site, listing yourself on social media. It's like sticking to the side of jumping on the coattails of other platforms to get as much amplification as possible. So barnacle marketing. So it's worth remembering.
Yeah.
It's one of the ones people do misunderstand, though, sometimes, is that they think, oh, well, the reason my profile on LinkedIn comes up so well is because LinkedIn is a really powerful domain, and sort of. Google know that people like to check out LinkedIn profiles when they're researching somebody. It's a full bio, it gives you their work history, it's a CV in one page with a way of connecting to them as well. That's why it ranks well. It's nothing to do with the domain authority, and where a lot of people go wrong with barnacle marketing is they're not quite understanding why a domain is powerful in the first place. Amazon, because we've already got our search history there, it's already got our credit card details, we've probably got the one-click buy, we're happy buying from it, we've already got the trust factor, and that's why Google is very happy for things to rank there.
Yeah, that's great. If I can jump in too, I love the idea of using Amazon, launching as a merchant, becoming better known, because one of the things that Amazon is a master at that's unexcelled is user-generated content. So you get all those great reviews on there, everybody falls in love with your product, you know, and what happens in social? The same kind of thing. It's the same credibility you gain from the voice of the common man, more or less, somebody who actually tries the product and leaves a review. There's institutions now that fight bad reviews, fake reviews, and you know that's necessary because how can you trust it if it's filled up with a bunch of spammy stuff? But you know, looking for those reviews in social, getting the voice of the person that you trust most, and isn't that what social is all about? And people constantly look for what we end up calling social trust. You're looking for evidence that people like what happens there. They trust the brand, the purchase went well, the thing arrived when it was supposed to. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Another step I have, and I know for all of us is a primitive one and a simple one, but I meet people and they post on social media images and they post quotes and they post like little blurbs, but they never link back to their website. So they perhaps post like once a week or once every few weeks a link back to their blog post, but they never go back again to their website. So they're really missing out the opportunity to lead the audience they create in social media and bring it to what their real estate is, where they really can let them explore you further and what you stand for and how you serve and how you help. Is that something you explore too, or do you see that most of the people already, they get it and they do it?
I've got to say, from my side, I've had a number of my small clients that's exactly what they've been doing. That's how they've seen social media, and it has been a case of just those quotes, those blurbs, those little bits of product information going out there, and failing to remember that it has to be integrated. It has to come back into that website, follow through, complete the action. But it's good. I mean, you know, it's a light bulb moment when they understand this. Excuse me. And of course, you know, the results as well are often pretty interesting.
The people who promote on Instagram are often guilty of this. They usually the businesses on Instagram are just try to appeal to visual side of their product, so they care about the likes that they get on the picture. Like, yeah, a lot of people like that, but they often forget to link or even leave a product description. You just see picture and a bunch of hashtags without getting the option to purchase the thing or get to the final step of using of their marketing campaign on Instagram. So yeah, the people need to remember to connect their social media marketing to their actual products and websites.
Right, you can't just chase engagement like so many people do. You end up chasing what people think is a KPI or some metric that's so important, and you do it to the exclusion of everything else, including the ultimate value that you're talking about. I think you're talking about conversion.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think though there is the need to kind of get that balance though without turning people off. So there's I think it's Dave Chaffee's content marketing framework, if you like, that just has inform, engage, entertain, inspire. Yeah. So he kind of builds everything around, I think it's Dave, yeah. He builds everything around those 4 elements, yeah. So obviously, inspire may not necessarily be something that you're immediately looking to throw a call to action in or get a sale from. You may be looking to sort of give ideas, or, you see a lot of brands doing like Monday motivation. Actually, it's expanded to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can tell that they're running out of ideas because every day there's a hashtag X day inspiration now. Those sort of silly little things, you're never going to say, oh, happy Tuesday, by the way, buy this. Yeah, you're doing it because it's a tiny little opportunity for you to touch point with people and cheer them up. Yeah. So sometimes I think there are things that you will do, and you may think, oh, well, there's no point to that. but maybe you've made them feel slightly better. You know, you've planted another tiny seed in their head. So I think, and at the other extreme, you do get an awful lot of brands that are just constantly like sell, 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 and that what happens? You end up like muting them, totally unfollowing them. You know, they're annoying, they're spamming. You just feel like the only reason that they want to connect with you is to sell you stuff. Yeah. So I think it is about getting that balance. It's like, I don't know. I'm a super fan, I would say, of a few brands. Yeah, because I like how they make me feel. Not just because of how the things I buy off them, but because of how I engage with some of their staff. You know, the girls from SEM Rush are amazing people. You know, I love having a chat with them. I'm a super fan of SEM Rush, I would say. I like the product, but you know, I like the people as well. I like the whole strategy. So, you know, I just wanted to say that really, it isn't just about always having a call to action. Sometimes it is, you know.
Yeah, it's about a voice, and it's about a voice in the conversation. You know, so you know, definitely everything you're saying is absolutely 100% true. Which, if we take it a step further, is why social has created the relationship marketing that takes place, and especially influence. So, I mean, I'm looking across this row at the bottom of the screen, and I see influencers wall to wall. All of you, you have voices, and you're trusted. You have all those features that Google wants your content to have. EAT, expertise, authority, and trust, and you've got all that, and that's why one of the reasons why people are willing to listen to you. In social, you're right, having that voice and being consistent and being periodic and being on at certain times and having those Twitter chats, like SEMrush has. It's an awesome vehicle. People trust that you'll be on the same day of the week at the same time, and it'll be entertaining, and you may learn something, and all of that adds up great. We're getting off into influencer marketing. Where would influencer marketing be without social? I mean, it just wouldn't exist.
No, without SEO too, because if you think about, you want to connect with the influencers from your niche, from your industry, so you still need to know what is it. You don't want to just to go out, like SEO, I really see gives you a path, gives you a guidance, what to look for, what are your niches, where you want to establish yourself in social media, where's your audience. So I really, what you're all saying, like I totally see the same. It needs to go hand in hand. It needs to have a relationship, a working relationship.
There's one thing that's really important to building that expertise, authority, trust. Don't play the numbers game. The number of times that I see people, oh, we've got to put out content, we've got to get lots of content. Social media, the biggest thing is your mistakes do not go away. It doesn't matter how many times you are right, it matters how many times I see you be wrong. If I see you wrong 3 times, that 3rd time in my mind, you're now unreliable forever. So it really is important when you're putting out content to a schedule. If you put out junk content, anything that you haven't really checked has that expertise and authority, you can guarantee that trust is going to go out of the window and it won't come back easily. It really won't. It takes a major rebrand. It takes somebody losing their job at the director level of content, so that, okay, we've got new management, that's never going to happen again. Now maybe we believe you, we'll give you a chance. But that's what it will take, so be really careful. Expertise and authority come first. That order is important. Trust is the last thing. You can't just leverage your way straight to that without the first 2 parts.
All right. Trust is hard to build and easy to erode. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it comes from, at least that's what I explore with my clients, or when I'm go out speaking, people see SEO or social media as a stepchild, like as something they have to do, and they really don't want to do it, and they just want to be technicians and work in their business. But they don't realize, like for me, when you have a website, it's your business online. It represents you, it represents your business. In social media, it represents your business. So does it take work? Does it take effort to do it right? Yeah, it does. but it's like same way rewarding as building a brick and mortar business. So I think that's what I see. What you're all saying is, how serious do you take it to build a business, to create relationships in social media, to create valuable, really relevant content, or you just want to throw something in, you hope it sticks, and then you're surprised why you don't make money online?
Yeah, it's all true. One of the biggest struggles I've had is there's a statistic that gets bandied about. I think it comes from HubSpot, that companies who have a social CEO who's active on social media frequently gain 70% more conversions than those who do not.
Wow.
So how they arrive at a stat like that, I'm sure they had some big data behind it. But if you think about it, especially in noisy areas like B2B and tech and things like that, where there's a lot of voice all of the time, when the CEO steps in, he gets lots of followers, and people just can't listen to that person enough. And so it's a story that needs to be told again and again, because one of the chief struggles I've had in the past is getting the people who are in charge, business owners and the big voices, to take hold of that and really have respect for social and what it can do, and participate and be the voice. Because the days of having a PR person and paying somebody to be your spokesperson, I don't think that really works that well anymore. You can have influencers and they can do their thing and support your brand, but you need a voice for the brand, and the higher up that is, I think, the better. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but that's what I think.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I'll tell you why. This is one of the reasons why the best, if you like, sorry, my hands went really massive in the screen there, but I was trying to quote, the best link builders of all ever are the brand themselves, yeah. Mm. So, if you've got a client who has relationships within his own or her own vertical, with suppliers, with people that they meet at trade shows, that kind of thing, and they become active on social media, I guarantee they're going to build links without even trying, yeah, just because they know their stuff. They, some outreach person that's working for an agency who's trying to get up to speed a little bit and spouting off tweets, etc. for a client, there's no chance that they're going to know that industry as well as the actual owner of the company or the senior team members who've been working within a very technical industry for a decade, yeah, and who know all the people in that vertical, all the other competitors, and this people at lots of events. So, you're absolutely right, Michael. It just makes a huge difference when you get the senior people on board who know their stuff and share it.
There's a couple of things to say. Michael, your point about the hiring spokesman, I see it still working great. I work with a lot of companies where there isn't one voice for the company, and what you do is you create a blog and allow a few people who are representative voices at different levels of the company to work, and it can work great. Now, some of those, they don't want any one actual employee to be, tied that closely to the brand, so they will create a fake persona. It's given a real personality, it's an amalgamation of real people, but somebody is hired to play that part, and that person is then replaceable. We don't see mascots still used.
That's a great point, and having responsible people in these roles and still having them interchangeable, that's an important business consideration. On the other hand, there's this concept that I've seen it with companies and at trade shows and all over the place, meetings. There's a dynamic that I'll call it peering. The CEO enters the room, scans the room, picks the tallest guy or woman who looks like the owner of the company and goes directly to them and shakes their hand, ignoring everybody else in the room first. And it's this thing that you want to talk to people at your level. You don't want to talk to the lower level salesperson. And when I say you, I mean, this is a pretty frequent thing that happens in sales, and you want to talk to the VP of sales if you're a VP. And so that's why the CEO's voice, I think, is probably, if not the primary voice, still essential, because at some point there might be a strategic partnership or a merged product or something that could emerge, but you want to talk to the chief person to make it happen. I thought you were picking your teeth for a second there.
It's one of those ones, though, when you look at small businesses, the CEO is almost always on social media, and it's not a massive differentiator. So when they were looking at that data, they were looking at a certain size of company. And the way that they discovered which CEOs were using social media was, of course, itself slightly skewed, because they had to think of how are we going to track this, and then they do that thing. Well, they're only detecting the ones that can be detected through that method. So there's a little bit of skewing of that data, and it certainly does favour the larger companies. But it's certainly a factor, but you have to be careful. There's the flip side. I mentioned this earlier, Dagmar, there's a lot of people who use social media because it's fun, because they love doing that bit. SEO is tricky, writing articles, oh, that's hard. But, you know, just tweeting out stuff, oh, that's easy. And look, I got 3, 4 likes. Yeah. Did you get them from the people that you're always liking? Because if so, they don't count for a thing. And a lot of people do get thrown by KPIs. Michael, you mentioned KPIs earlier, and I mentioned what I always say they stand for. Kill performance instantly. So many times KPIs are these ridiculous measures. I knew a company years ago, oh, our best salesmen make 50 calls a day. Right, everyone has to make 50 calls a day. So, of course, they start calling terrible leads because they've got to make up the numbers. So the quality of those calls went right down. Because they were so busy trying to make all those calls, they weren't free when the actual opportunities came in. And, you know, this is a way where we have to be very careful what we set as KPIs, because usually once we start chasing the numbers instead of the results, it goes badly.
All right. There's in the U.S. in education, there's always a debate because we get things rolled out across the entire nation, and teaching to the test is a concept that people love to hate. Training people to do something specific to attain that one result, like you're talking about, those 50 calls. Like you said, it kills creativity, innovation, and maybe some personal best. So, you know, I definitely agree with that.
But presumably, though, measurement still matters, and performance measurement still matters. So
yeah, I think when you're looking at KPIs, they can be really good. I mean, you need to have some KPIs. You just have to understand them. If you don't understand the statistics and why you have those numbers, you can go really wrong getting things that are, you know, I think not causal. I'm not a statistics person. I don't know the right words for it, but you know, like you were saying, you can look at things like, oh, the number of calls, great. Okay, make this many calls. Well, you may find that your most successful salespeople only make 5 calls a day because they're on each one of those calls for an hour. That doesn't mean you should take all your salespeople and give them 5 calls a day. I do remember the one statistics course I took at one point. A very basic thing that they showed was, you know, you can't, when you pull the legs off of an animal and yell at it, it won't jump. It doesn't mean it hears with its legs. Like the things aren't necessarily connected. They took a bunch of crickets and they popped the legs off, and they were like, look, apparently their ears are on their legs. I don't think they actually did the experiment, but it was a thought experiment, just to show people, you know, you can't look at the result and say, oh, it must be tied to a certain thing. It's everything's connected, and if you don't really understand your business, and if you don't really understand your team, and you don't really understand the process, you know, especially when looking at something like sales, but also SEO, which I don't really understand, why I have a professional for it that understands that stuff. Otherwise, you're looking at the wrong numbers. And I've seen bosses that just want to measure stuff, and they just want something to yell at people, and so they just grab on any number they can find, and it's just never the odds that you chose the right number at random. You're doing business lottery, and that's no way to run a business.
Yeah. I like what you're all saying, because for me it's the meaning of the numbers, right? Let's use SEO as an example with the keyword. I have clients and they want to have a keyword, or they want to use topics, let's say topics, or be in niches, big niches with a huge search demand and great profitability. And I approach SEO from a very empathy point, because their heart has to be in it. I work with clients and they chose the best niche, and then they cannot create content, or they don't feel connected to this thing. So what you're all saying, it's the same for me. If you can read the data, still there's life behind the data. It's not just the naked data what has a meaning. It's more what is the meaning of this data for your company, like in everything, if it's analytics or if it's the KPI or whatever it is. Right. So as a last practical step, and don't believe it or not, you really inspired me to go in this direction with your help and hub and hero content, because the last step, what I see a lot, what I suggest to all my clients doing, when they have people they follow or they have people in their industry they really love, they are connected with them, that they have blog posts and they implement quotes of these people. Because in this way, they give them recognition, in this way, they give them respect to the value they provide to the community, but also have a chance that they get a thank you back and they get a reshare for the blog post. So that's what I see as a very humble, practical step when it's done in an ethical way, when it's done in a caring way that you want to provide more value, but also give the respect and recognition back to the expert. You adore and you implement the quote. And how do you see that? Do you do this, or what is your approach for that, implementing quotes into blog posts?
So quotes, quotations you're talking about from influential people, is that what
you're connected with. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So obviously invoking a name of someone who is considered an expert is an awesome thing to do. If they actually jump in and share in the conversation, that's a great thing to have happen. Probably there's too many people doing this simply for that purpose, to invoke the name of an influencer, an expert, a thought leader, to provoke them into jumping in, and that's too bad, because you're riding on someone's coattails, is the expression. You're really taking advantage of somebody unfairly, and that's not appreciated. But I always try to, when I share something, I try to invoke the handle of the person whose content I'm sharing, because it's just a way of saying thank you. When I quote somebody, I waste time, honestly, but I try to find out who was the originator of the quote. There's a lot of people who rely on quotations entirely from everybody, from the past and everything, and that's a social media content stream that many people fill their schedules with in social media. You see it constantly, and it gets to be a bore, and even can get to be repetitious. But I think it all comes back to showing respect for people, caring about whose information it is that you're sharing, and if you are fortunate enough that you see somebody following you back who is a voice, that's awesome, and it should be flattering to you, and it's something that you can then choose to, have an honest-to-goodness conversation with somebody. But to simply invoke their name, hoping to provoke a reaction, is probably not.
Yeah. And it's not what I said, Michael, or perhaps I didn't say it right in English. It's where you have a connection with, like Andy Cristodina, he's a friend of mine, and I love what he writes in the content. So if I write a blog post about what has relevance to what he wrote about or what he spoke about, I always want to give him the recognition, because we are not experts in everything, and there's always a community wisdom. So then what I would do, and that's the same what I suggest to my clients, they need to have a relationship. They need to be connected. They just not can throw in a name and then tag them in Twitter, because that's absolutely, it's annoying. And what I suggest, to build a relationship before you write a blog post, to build a relationship before you quote them. So first, that's how I see social media. It's an opportunity to create a relationship, and then with the SEO part, bring it back to your website and give value to both sides and give recognition to both sides. So I'm not speaking about faking anything, and I'm not speaking about beating somebody coming to my website. It's more about building a community and building an audience, and having this in mind. It doesn't have to be all about your experience, what you write about in your blog post. You always can integrate something what somebody else experienced.
A lot of the things that people in social media struggle with are, of course, old issues in SEO. This is very closely connected. A lot of people, they're using social media. Oh, I want to promote my expertise, so I don't want to quote other experts. And it's a bit like we used to have, oh, I'm trying to promote my website, I'm not going to link to external sources. Now, the thing is, in both cases, by having that link, by citing other sources, by linking to other sources, you show that you are aware of your market, because your customer has just come from a search engine and knows there are 10 rivals. He wants to know that you know there are 10 rivals and are positioning yourself in relation to that knowledge. If you go around pretending that you are the only company in the world, what you look like is the only idiot in the room. But I did want to quickly come to Tony's question. He asked about specific kind of things about KPIs, and I thought we might just quickly have time to. What are some bad KPIs? And I kind of think that any time you play the numbers as a rule instead of something to learn from, you're going wrong. When you say, oh, most of our people make 50 phone calls, so you've all got to make 50 phone calls. It's not that the data was wrong, it's not the KPI was wrong, it's that you've turned it into an instruction that has nothing to do with the outcome. What you should do is sit your whole team down and let them know that the ones who are most successful are the ones making the most calls, so they can then think of, am I making enough calls, instead of having to set a rule and then people having to follow to that. Because you know what, even your most successful who average 50 calls will have days when they make 2 or 3 calls and every single one is a closed deal.
Yeah.
I was going to say, for me, in terms of social, KPI is just to bring it right down to the nitty-gritty. Yeah, they are assisted conversions. Yeah, I wouldn't say just conversions, because obviously a social media tweet or share or whatever can assist something that happens quite a way down the line. I would always try to extend in analytics the conversion window to its largest possible, because again, same thing, they reckon that people can have 7 or more touch points or mentions of a brand before they actually do something, act as such, and progression through what they call the ladder of loyalty. So moving from just being a customer to being a repeat customer, to being somebody that's an advocate, to being somebody that actually then you're forming relationships with, you're doing things like webinars with, etc. Yeah, just looking at it in this market. So for me, those would be good social media KPIs, and obviously sales, bottom line, but they can be assisted. So.
Engagement for loyalty and retention.
Yeah.
So thinking about working for a SaaS company, software as a service, churn, thinking about the things that contribute to your monthly recurring revenue and how important that is. And if you're going to lose 30-40% of all of your newly signed users within the first couple of months, I mean, that's a disaster.
Wow.
Making sure that they're engaged, and some of that has to do with training and materials, but if you're not using social to promote and disseminate the information about where to find all these assets and resources, that's...
And that's the Help Hub Hero. That's the help part of the Help Hub Hero framework.
My favorite saying around that is, selling doesn't help.
No.
Helping sells.
Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because what's the point of just getting conversion, as you say, with something like software as a service or a subscription model, if the next month they never come back, they didn't know how to work the product, they didn't, some of the tools can be quite complex now, can't they? And if you haven't got a really comprehensive help section with social media guiding you to that over and over, or somebody manning the social media customer service help desk to say, hey, there's a guide to that, this is how this works, etc. So that's the Help Hub Hero, that's the help part of that, and that's how it fits in. Yeah.
People need to hear it from all kinds of different voices. I mean, honestly, there's some hard sell stuff that goes on out there, teaching techniques for SEO or content writing or whatever, and it just kind of rubs me the wrong way, just because of the kind of person that I am. But some people love that, The guy stands in front of his Ferrari on the golf course and says, you can have this too. Great tips about how to, And I kind of cringe, but some people love that stuff, and you may not do that as a brand, but you may have somebody who's an enthusiast, an advocate, an evangelist, who does that, and they're going to use social for that. So thinking about all the different voices that people welcome and actually follow and listen to, you're going to need a variety of them, and it's just another aspect to it.
I think those guys with the Ferraris pretty much always end up in jail. So that tells you a lot about that particular technique, and where it ends up. One quick thing on KPIs, to get back to that really quickly. If you just look at what does KPI mean, it's key performance indicator, not something to live your life by. It's an indicator. That's it. It's a guide. It's one more piece of information that that a good manager can use to make decisions. It's not, if KPI was all you needed, well then you could have a computer doing your job. It would just look at the numbers and then go issue whatever command depending on those numbers. We have humans because we have to understand what we're looking at, and we have to evolve with it too. I think that SEO, one of the big reasons that I don't know much about SEO, and I'm here to learn, and we have experts like you, Dagmar, is it's constantly changing. And if all we do is follow KPIs in SEO and you don't understand them, we need experts like you that understand them to know where things are going, to adjust, because you constantly have to adjust in SEO and in everything else. I bet you if you looked at KPIs from 2 years ago for SEO and you followed those, you would be terribly wrong. If you look at the best practices from a couple years ago, you'd be terribly wrong, because especially in marketing, things are constantly changing, because every time you find a new secret fishing hole, everybody else shows up a month later and it's no longer any good. You have to find a new way of getting interest, a new way of getting in front of people. You're constantly looking to be where other people aren't, or where they are, or both. So I think in SEO, in marketing in general, to use KPIs and not understand them, but just to blindly follow them is really probably, for owners, a great indicator of management that shouldn't be there anymore. It's a great way to identify, if they're blindly following KPIs, they really don't understand their job, or they're too lazy to do it well. So maybe it's just a kind of a as I'm speaking thought, but something to look for in management is, are they blindly following KPIs? It just means they're not good at their job. They don't actually know what they're doing enough to think about it and use it to help make decisions instead of as an excuse to show that they're doing their job.
Yeah, and I like what you just said, because at the end, what creates an impact in your business, and it's different for every client I know. They have some common basis, but it's still just holding on to KPIs and not seeing a holistic view of it, can kill you, because then you totally approach it from one aspect only. So
I think you've got to definitely have many KPIs. That's why, different dashboards, for instance, in whatever analytics platform you're using are always really good. So it's customized platforms based on the role of the person requiring the insight. So obviously at a board level, they're not necessarily going to need all the drill down, we've paid X per click, etc. But a really good range of different metrics and dimensions, etc., I suppose will provide that ability to drill down a little bit just beyond this is how many sales we got type thing. Yeah. And maybe give some of the reasons why something changed, why it didn't, other factors from outside of just pure sales or pure finance. So yeah, dashboards are always great, a really good set of measures on a dashboard.
One of the things is, with all kinds of statistics, with all kinds of data, we're always creating models, and we start off with those models being very, very simple representations. They're kind of like the cave paintings of data, and they can work, they can have energy and a sort of fundamental appeal, but at the end of the day, if you try and actually plan things on that, you end up with very two-dimensional plans, So you need to understand that your models are models. They're not actual representations of the real thing. They're only modeling what you've been able to put the detail into. You probably won't have any of the internals. The greatest thing with getting your models better is experience. It's that simple. There is no alternative to it. Now, that doesn't mean that you're at a disadvantage as a new company. It means hire an expert who's got that experience. Even if they're just coming in to advise you temporarily rather than a full-time hire, get that experience on board.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm through with my practical steps, and I loved what you all shared. Like I love this community wisdom. That's what for me is living and working online is all about. Learning together and growing together.
I understand. Armand has to go because he has to eat. He has to eat before Bogus Hangouts. I wonder if he can share a link to Bogus Hangouts. It would be nice. It's highly, well, everybody knows, or maybe everybody knows. It's highly recommended. Very secretive elite club. Nobody can get there unless Armand will share this link to
I'm
us.
pretty sure that most of them will have heard of this very. It's kind of unknown as a website, but there's this site called Google. If you put Bogus Hangout into it, you usually find us.
Yeah. Okay, you're lazy to put it. Okay, we'll do it. Okay, guys. Okay, Armand has gone without a link, so you can put it in Google as he said. I don't know. Anything, Dagmar? You planning anything else? Any more steps? No.
No, I'm through my 7 steps, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
I just lost count because it wasn't like a usual dry webinar 1, 2, 3 slides. It just was all the conversation.
You said I could make it entertaining and I could involve the other experts.
Sure. Okay, guys, thank you very much, Dagmar, for sharing this with us, and all you guys. Thank you very much. You were big value for this. I can't call it webinar. It's kind of discussion. We're moving from dry webinars to discussion where everybody who has something to share can share it. So the only person who was sitting with a microphone mute was me, obviously. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, our star speaker, Dagmar, from Florida, sunny Florida.
Yep.
Thank you, David, from London. I don't know what's the weather in London. I guess it's rain. Thank you, Dawn. What was the weather in Manchester? You muted. Yeah, well.
Rain. It rains. It usually rains a lot in Manchester. Apart from when I go to Australia, then the weather is glorious then, and then Australia gets rain.
We have all moved to Australia. Okay. Thank you, Igor. It was your first time, and I hope you like it. Thank you, Michael. Michael, you're an extremely experienced fighter. We know that. Thank you, Sky. It was a very last moment. I just saw you want to watch it and invited you. Thank you, guys, and thank you, Dagmar Gatell. Was absolutely brilliant. When I said a webinar was good, for Americans I use awesome. For Europeans I use brilliant. So I don't know what was to use for you. I will say it was absolutely brilliant and awesome webinar, which wasn't webinar. Thank you all, guys.
We're
going
Dankeschön.
Okay.
We're going off the air, so you can say, "Mom, I'm on the telly," before we go